Hello everyone, I hope you're doing all right. Before we get going, thank you for 4,000 subs on the YouTube. I really appreciate it. It's very flattering that you guys want to see more of this stuff. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. All right, jump into this. So today we're talking about the dirty fighting gunslinger. Brief disclaimer as usual. I'm not an expert in this spec. I'm just a nerd that plays a lot of SWTOR and kind of knows what he's doing. So if you have anything else you want to add or anything I don't cover, please leave them down in the comments below. I'm sure that your fellow players would really appreciate it. For your tertiary stats, you're going to be looking at 110% accuracy in PvE and like 105% accuracy in PvP. For alacrity, you want like 7.2% alacrity. That should compensate for most of your lag issues. And then just dump the rest into crit and you should be good to rock and roll. For our tactical here, we're going to be taking the Exploded Weakness tactical. Exploded Weakness is going to increase our Hemorrhaging Blast damage by 50% and then make our Dirty Blast do a little extra dot, which is really nice, especially considering how our abilities interact with each other. You have some other options, like Ultraviolet Blast is great for heroics and leveling if you're at level 75. It just essentially finishes all of your dots in the target in a single cooldown. It does a lot of damage, but it's not really like sustained damage, so we'll be focusing on Exploded Weakness here. There's also Airborne Agents if you want to do a lot of like dot spreading, but it's a little finicky, and I'd rather just hit Suppressive Fire. Hit the jump button. So that's what we'll be going with for our tactical. For our legendaries, we're going to go with Improved Targeting Package. This is going to decrease the cooldown of Smuggler's Oath by 15 seconds, which is very, very nice. It has more crit. Locked and Loaded is going to be our second. It's just a flat 5% more extra tech damage, which we love to see. If you're running into a lot of energy issues, you can actually take Energy Regulators over Improved Targeting Package. That should compensate for most of your regulators or your energy regulation. It's kind of like the training wheels. So if you're just getting started, you're having issues with it, you can absolutely take this, and then your energy issues should be fine. For our combat style here, we're going to be taking the Sharp Object. This is going to increase the crit chance of our periodic effects by 10%, which is just free extra damage. We're going to take Flourish Burst because it's going to cause us to do more crit damage with our Dirty Blast, which we love to see. Moving the train here, we take increase the armor penetration, crit chance, and crit damage of our wounding shots, which is very, very nice when our Smuggler Chems is active. We're going to take Focus Fusion here. It's going to extend the duration of our Smuggler's Chems at the expense of a 30-second increase in our cooldown. Sorry, Duke is being very needy. If you're running into energy issues and you don't have enough for the tactical, you can also swap this out for critical compounds here, where it'll essentially just give you more energy whenever you do crit damage. So if you're running into energy issues, you can take these. These are kind of like the training wheels. So if you're just getting started, no worries if you need to take these. It's perfectly fine. Moving along here, I like Ballistic Dampeners. If you want to like turbo parse, you can take Snapshot, or if you're taking a lot of AoE damage, you can take Lay Low. Personally, I find Ballistic Dampeners to be the most useful all the time. Moving up the tree here, I take Resist Engagement, or you can also take Efficient Ammo for the extra sweeping gunfire damage. It's pretty nice. It's just free extra 25% damage on our AoE, but Reset Engagement is pretty good as well. This tree is kind of dealer's choice. If you're in PvP, you can take like Hideout for the extra phase walk, which is pretty nice. Scrambling Field will always be useful in any sort of content. Bombing Run is great if you just want to parse. So pick your poison here. I like Scrambling Field. I just find it to be the most useful. And then the rest of these are all terrible. Hotwire Defenses is okay. It's just a little extra absorb on our energy shield, or I'm sorry, our defensive screen, which already doesn't absorb a lot of damage, so not that great. Hot Pursuit is what I usually take just because it gives us a little bit of extra mobility, but again, not that great, Duke buddy. And then Heads Up you can take if you want the extra mobility speed. Again, these are all choices. They all kind of stink. So pick your poison and you should be good to go. This is what I personally run, though, if you want to replicate what I normally do when I'm playing my Gunslinger. All right. Let's talk about actually doing damage, aka the fun part of this spec. This is a dot spec. Dot stands for damage over time abilities. So if you notice here, if I hit these abilities, they don't do a lot of initial damage, but you're going to notice that they leave a debuff on the target that's going to slowly tick damage over time. That's what dot stands for. So we have 3 of these dots. The first is our Vital Shot. Vital Shot is a single target ability. You fire the shot, it does like 24,000 damage over the next 24 seconds. That's a pretty good chunk of change, but we'll get into it why we will be doing more than just that. Additionally, we have our Shrap Bomb. Shrap Bomb, you throw it at the target, boop, does a minor amount of damage, and then we'll do an extra 24,000 damage over the next 24 seconds. Shrap bomb is an AoE though. AoE means that it has an area of effect. Sorry, Duke is licking all my hands. And so what that means is that any target that's standing near, for example, our target dummy here, would also be affected by Shrap bomb. Additionally, Shrap bomb will spread our vital shot dots. So if I had vital shot on the target and then I hit everything in the area with a Shrap bomb, everyone would be affected by both my Shrap bomb and my vital shot. So if you see a bunch of mobs standing together, throw those two in there, you'll get everyone dotted up and ready to rock and roll. Additionally, because of our tactical, our Dirty Blast, which normally just does like 17k damage combined, will also apply a dot to the target. This dot doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but we'll get into why it's going to do more in a hot second. So if we have all of our dots rolling on the target here, see our Vital Shot, see our Shrap Bomb, see our Dirty Blast, it's not a very impressive set of numbers here, right? Okay, 4k, 3k, 1k, oh great, 5k. Like, these aren't very good numbers. But we have a number of ways to actually increase that damage. The first of which is going to be our Hemorrhaging Blast. What Hemorrhaging Blast does is it does a very small amount of damage to the target initially, but every time the target takes dot damage, it will tick again for another 2.5k, which means we're essentially going to double the amount of dots ticking on the target whenever we have Hemorrhaging Blast up. So for example, here you're going to see dots on the target, dots on the target, dots on the target. Now, okay, not that impressive, not that impressive, not that impressive. If we apply the Hemorrhaging Blast, the target will start to, there's a lot more numbers popping off the target. Okay, we've essentially doubled the amount of dot damage that we're doing because we have Hemorrhaging Blast up. But that's not all we can do. We can actually do more than this. For example, we have our Wounding Shots. Wounding Shots here, I'm sorry, I'm gonna turn that off. Wounding Shots here does a very small amount of damage. If you see I hit my Wounding Shots button, okay, 3k, 2k, 3k, 3k, that's not a lot of damage. That's actually a piddly amount of damage. However, the cool part about Wounding Shots is that every time it ticks damage, it will tick your dots. So, what will happen is all the dots that we previously had on the target, and then our Hemorrhaging Blast will be ticked 4 times during our Wounding Shots. So let's, for example, apply our Vital Shot, our Shrap Bomb, our Dirty Blast dot, and then our Hemorrhaging Blast, and then if we use our Wounding Shots, oh my goodness, the target explodes with numbers. Oh, it's kind of pretty, it's kind of hot, it's kind of amazing. So, we have one more interaction here, and you're going to notice that when we use our Wounding Shots, our Quick Draw will start to glow. Anytime you do damage with your Wounding Shots, you have an 80% chance to proc your Quick Draw. Doing the math, it's almost guaranteed that after every Wounding Shots, you'll have a Quick Draw available. If you don't have a Quick Draw available, you are unreasonably lucky, and I'm sorry. But 99% of the time, you will absolutely have a Quick Draw available. Quick Draw doesn't have any interaction with our dots. It just does a boatload of damage very quickly. You can see here, boop, there we go. There's a fat, 17k, so not a whole lot of damage, but some damage. Sorry, Duke is getting feisty. He hears a car outside. So, we have an additional interaction in the form of our Blood Sights. Now what Blood Sights does is it makes our next Wounding Shots crit. All right, he's gonna go down. He's just licking me all over the place. Makes your next Wounding Shots crit, and additionally, it's gonna cause all of your damage over time abilities to crit and do 10% more damage for the next 10 seconds, which is a lot of damage. So, for example, if we have 1 dot, 2 dot, 3 dot, and our Hemorrhaging Blast, and then we use our Blood Sights, we're going to Wounding Shots the target. These are all critting all the time, and now all these dots are also critting. You can see how that's a lot of damage. That's a lot of damage. That's a boatload of damage. So, our job now is to maximize the amount of damage we can do while maintaining these dots. I have good news and I have bad news. The good news is that if you can count to 4, you can play Dirty Fighting. It's very straightforward. It is Wounding Shots and then 4 abilities and then Wounding Shots again. The bad news is that I don't have a rotation for you. It is pure priority system, which is good and bad. It's good in the fact that it's hard to mess it up. You're not gonna get halfway through a rotation and then realize you messed it up and now everything's off, right? If you mess something up, in the next ability, you just fix it, right? But it's bad because there's just more to understand about what's happening here. So let's lay down some ground rules, right? So as we discussed previously, when you use wounding shots, you have 4 abilities to use for your next wounding shots. So what we're going to do here is we're going to cast wounding shots, and then we're going to go, all right, wounding shots has been cast. The target's going to evade. Great, love that. Wounding shots, now we have 4 abilities. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and wounding shots. So our job is to find the best 4 abilities to fill those slots between every single wounding shots. The number 1 rule, above all else, is have your dots rolling. We are a dot class. We focus on applying our dots, the most important of which are our vital shot and our shrap bomb. You can see here I've assembled a handy dandy little priority tree right here in the middle of the screen for you to follow along with. So wounding shots is the most important. Applying your dots is the next most important. So anytime we do not have dots on the target, we're going to get dots on the target immediately. So let's apply our dots and make sure that we're ready to rock and roll. So let's say we have all 3 of our dots taking on the target, all 3 dots taking on the target. We've used our wounding shots, huzzah. Now looking at the priority tree here, you can see we have 3 other abilities on the priority tree. Hemorrhaging Blast is going to be the most important of your non-dot filler abilities. Hemorrhaging Blast does a whole boatload of damage. Anytime it's off cooldown, we want to be smashing it as hard as possible, like August to Will Smith's wife, right? Just smash it, smash it, smash it, and no one's going to complain, all right? So anytime we have Hemorrhaging Blast off cooldown, smash that button, all right? So we're going to have dots in the target. We have dots in the target, dots in the target, dots in the target. We're going to use our wounding shots. Now we have our Hemorrhaging Blast, boop. We have 2 more abilities down here. The first is Hemorrhaging Blast, the next is Quick Draw. Now, Quick Draw is technically more important than Hemorrhaging Blast. It just does more damage. But this is getting super picky. If at all possible, we want to go Dirty Blast, Quick Draw, Dirty Blast. This will cause the Dirty Blast dock to tick 3 times instead of 2. It's turbo math stuff. If you don't do it every time, that's perfectly fine. But in general, you want to be going Hemorrhaging Blast, Quick Draw, Dirty Blast. And that's the basics of our priority system here. So, rule number 1, have your dots sticking on the target. Rule number 2, fill with 4 abilities between each of our wounding shots. Rule number 3, smash that Hemorrhaging Blast button. Rule number 4, Dirty Blast, Quick Draw, Dirty Blast. Let's walk through a brief opener here to kind of demonstrate what's going on, and then we'll talk about the last of our primary interactions here. I know this is a lot of rules to follow, but don't worry. It's pretty straightforward once you get into it. So, an example opener that we're going to follow here, if you have your orbital strike, or I'm sorry, your flyby, I think it's called flyby, bombing run. They change the names of the things so often. Bombing run, you can precast your bombing run. We want to open with our Dirty Blast, Vital Shot, Shrap Bomb, then Hemorrhaging Blast. We'll use Blood Sights, but not for this particular engagement. And then we're going to use our wounding shots. All right, priority tree. Dots around the target. So we can go Dirty Blast, Quick Draw, Dirty Blast, Dirty Blast. That's 4 abilities. Use our wounding shots. Now we're going to go Dirty Blast, Quick Draw, Dirty Blast. Hemorrhaging Blast is off cooldown. Smash that Hemorrhaging Blast button, and now get our wounding shots. Dots falling off the target. That's rule number 1. Get your dots back on the target. You're going to notice here, when your dots are falling off, they're going to leave this little gray icon afterwards. What the gray icon means is that the dots aren't taking damage on the target. However, if you use your wounding shots, they actually will tick damage. So you can see here, we got to get through one more rotation here. The Shrap Bomb and our Vital Shot's going to fall off, but they're going to leave this little gray icon afterwards. So if I use my wounding shots, they're still going to be ticking damage. Okay, let's talk about one more interaction. I know I'm throwing a lot at you here. Don't worry, it's pretty straightforward. We talked previously about how Blood Sights will increase the critical damage of all poison effects. Of all of our bleed effects. That includes the damage of Dirty Blast that's also an internal bleed effect. So, anytime we use our Blood Sights, the next core rotation of 4 will be 4 Dirty Blasts in a row. That's going to do a whole boatload of damage. So if you use wounding shots, you're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, because it's all going to crit because of this Smuggler's Chems. Smuggler's Chems is this little purple buff that we have. it's a whole boatload of damage you get basically for free every time we use our blood sights. So anytime you use your blood sights after your next wounding shots, just 4 Dirty Blasts back to back to back to back to back. It's going to do a whole bunch of burst damage. You're going to be really happy with the results. You're going to like the way you look, all right? I guarantee it. Okay. One last thing to cover here. I know that our dots will persist after we use, and when they fall off, we'll get the little gray icon. But our dots are the primary source of our energy drain, because if we use our dots back to back, it's 15 energy, then 10 energy, that's 25 energy used really, really quickly together, and that's going to kind of throw off your rotation here. So what you want to do is, if at all possible, you want to throw your vital shot into your 4th slot. Okay? That's super picky, but if you see your vital shot falling off and you're coming to the end of your 4-block rotation, smash your vital shot button, use it in the 4th slot. It'll help you with your energy management, and it'll help keep that vital shot on the target for longer. So let's demonstrate how this might work. And remember, this is just a basic priority system here. If you mess it up or you have a GCD or 2 wrong, that's okay. Just do better on the next GCD, or just use the priority system right next time. You're not going to mess this up to the point where you are like actively throwing. As long as you understand the basic mechanics of what's happening here, your damage is going to be just fine. But it's min-maxing the way these abilities are working together that's really going to take your game to the next level. So let's talk about our opener. Again, Dirty Blast, Vital Shot, Strap Bomb, and then Hemorrhaging Blast and Blood Sights. Let's begin. So, Dirty Blast. Get our dots all on the target. Hemorrhaging Blast, and then Blood Sights, and then here we go, Wounded Shots. So again, we have our Blood Sights up. So 4 Dirty Blasts in a row. 2, 3, 4, and then we Wounded Shots. All right. We're going to do our Dirty Blast, Quick Draw, Dirty Blast for these 3, and then Hemorrhaging Blast, and then do damage to the target. Our dots have fallen off, so we want to use our dots. Dots, Quick Draw, Dirty Blast, and now use our Wounding Shots. And 1, 2, 3, Hemorrhaging Blast, and Wounding Shots. And 1, 2, 3. We're going to use our 4 for our Vital Shots, and now Wounding Shots. You can see our Strap Bomb has fallen off, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and Wounding Shots. And 1, 2, 3, 4, and Wounding Shots. As long as you go to the target and you spam mostly these abilities in your 4 core rotation here, you're going to be perfectly fine with Dirty Fighting. It does a whole boatload of damage. You don't have to be min-max to do it. It's a pretty good time. It's a pretty darn good time. If you are doing heroics and you want to know about Ultraviolet Blast, let's talk about it real quick. What Ultraviolet Blast does, if you have dots on the target and you use your Hemorrhaging Blast, boop, it's going to detonate all the dots at once and then leave the grays here. Now, it actually changes the grays so that way if you use your Wounding Shots, it'll actually reapply the dots again. So usually when you have your grays on the target, it won't refresh them as dots. However, because of Ultraviolet Blast, say we have, all right, let's get our dots on the target. Dirty Blast is no longer a dot, so we don't have to worry about that. Use your Hemorrhaging Blast and then use our Wounding Shots. You can see the dots are reapplied to the target. It does a boatload of burst damage very, very quickly. It's very, very nice. But it's mostly used for like PvP and or like heroics, etc. Stuff that's not really sustained damage. But if you want to play around with it, it's a whole lot of fun. I don't blame you. Let's talk about our defensive cooldowns really quickly. Diversion is a great defensive cooldown. It reduces accuracy by 45%. So if you have a whole bunch of mobs on you or you're in PvP, it's a great little ability. We love to see it. Defense screen is a piece of crap. It absorbs 30k damage, which isn't a whole lot of damage, so it's nice, but it's not fantastic. You can turn your surrender into an evasion if you really want to, using the dodge stanch. It'll just increase your defense or evasion chance to 200% and make you immune for a little bit, but you're going to lose out on a whole bunch of damage, which is kind of sad. Our hightail it is kind of the most important one. Hightail it is going to roll you forward. It's going to leave a little AoE behind you as you roll. It's going to make you immune while you're rolling, so that 1.5 seconds, and it's great mobility, so we love to see it. Finally, we have our Hunker Down. Hunker Down will put you in a little thing here that prevents you from being stunned, which is pretty nice. Additionally, it's going to reduce AoE damage by 60%, which is pretty fantastic. Finally, we have our Pulse Detonator. Boop, it's a knockback. If you have players on you, have a bunch of mobs on you, just use your knockback, hi Duke, and you should be ready to rock and roll. Also, Scrambling Field. It's a huge, massive 20% damage reduction. It's great. Great for your team. If you see someone dying, you should use it. All right. And then we have our bag of tricks. I'm sorry I forgot to mention this. I'm running out of steam here very quickly. Defensive Scream will reduce the cooldown of all these major abilities here. So if I use all of my defensive cooldowns, etc., then use my bag of tricks, you can see all these cooldowns just came back off of cover, which is or off cooldown, which is pretty nice. Kind of all I have. If you have any questions, again, if you can count to 4, you can play this spec. Just do shots and then follow the priority tree, and you should be ready to rock and roll. Other than that, that's all I got. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. And yeah, subscribe, I guess. Or don't. You know, I'm not your mom, but it'd be nice if you did. Okay, goodbye.